Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps has seized 2 cargo ships after attacking vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Tasnim news agency says the Navy has seized the Epaminondes and the MSC Francesca off the Iranian coast near Siddiq. Iran accuses the vessels of operating without authorization and manipulating navigation systems.
These vessels have been transferred to the territorial waters of the Islamic Republic of Iran for inspection of their cargo and documents. The IRGC Navy once again emphasized that any action aimed at disrupting the implementation of the laws announced by the Islamic Republic of Iran regarding transit in the Strait of Hormuz, as well as activities contrary to safe passage in this strategic waterway, will be continuously monitored by the IRGC Navy, and violators will face decisive and lawful action.
Meanwhile, the ceasefire has been extended despite stalled efforts to reach a peace deal between the US and Iran. President Donald Trump says Pakistan asked the US to hold off on attacking Iran so Iranian leaders can submit a unified proposal. Now, Iran's ambassador to the UN says talks will resume as soon as the US blockade on Iranian ports ends. But Washington has said the naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz will continue until a peace deal is done. Now, we've got correspondents at the White House, in Islamabad, in Dubai, and in Tehran. We're going to start with Ali Hashem in the Iranian capital. So, Ali, the ceasefire is extended, but Iran seizes 2 ships. What are the messages coming from Iran?
Well, the ceasefire is one thing for the Iranians, and the blockade is another. And they've vowed yesterday that they are going to continue and resume the work on defending the strait, the closure of the strait, as they're doing from their own side, and the other side trying to confront the blockade. And given the fact that today's incident took place, it's clear that this is part of the new status quo in the seas surrounding the Gulf and the Arab region, tit for tat. That will, of course, I mean, this is coming just after days from the United States seizing of an Iranian ship. So now we're seeing the Iranians seizing another 2 ships. So this is going to continue as far as the blockade is there, and as far as the Strait of Hormuz is closed also.
Ali, thanks a lot. We're going to bring in Mike Hanna at the White House. So Donald Trump, Mike, saying that the US is going to still blockade the Strait of Hormuz. It's now waiting for Iran to come back with what's been described as a unified response. What are you hearing from the White House?
Well, President Trump made clear that he believes the blockade is still an important piece of leverage for him. He did so in a Truth Social statement in the course of yesterday evening. He says Iran doesn't want the Strait of Hormuz closed. They want it open so they can make $500 million a day. He wrote, they only say they want it closed because I have it totally blockaded. So they merely want to save face. Now, a few days ago, President Trump was saying that the Strait of Hormuz doesn't matter because the U.S. doesn't rely on it for oil. However, now it's obviously a central part of his policy and a central part of attempting to show that the U.S. has not backed down in terms of extending this particular ceasefire. There's something that is very important for President Trump to continue to appear to show strength in the face of what is amounting to Iranian defiance of his wishes to get the talks going again. Also a problem for the Trump administration, several sources are saying, is the fact that they're not quite clear who they are talking with in Iran, who are the decision makers. The main negotiator was assassinated by the Israelis, Ali Larijani. The supreme leader, the former one, was assassinated in the early part of the war. Now the US government appears to be left with the Islamic Republican Guard Corps to negotiate with, notoriously hardline, and the previous leaders who have been killed were in fact guardrails against the complete power of the ICRG.
Okay, let's go back to Ali Hashem, who's still in Tehran for us, of course. So Donald Trump had previously said that the US was negotiating with people that he described as reasonable, but we understand now he's saying it's because part of the problem is that Iran's leadership is fractured. Do we have any indication who is providing the responses to the US right now?
Well, you know, when you're in Tehran, the view is different, especially when you are watching how the system is working in Tehran. It's completely different from what is being said. I mean, the issue is that there is a system, there is a leadership, there are institutions, there is a foreign ministry. These are all part of the decision-making cycle in Iran. And nothing has changed when it comes to how things work in this. There's a workflow. Now, the killing of the Supreme Leader, the killing of the Supreme National Security Council Secretary, other people who are in charge, wasn't left without being replaced. So there's no vacuum. And when there's no vacuum, the workflow continues as it used to be. However, there's something, yes, different now in Iran, is that the team surrounding the Supreme Leader is very harmonized. Actually, it's his own team for the past 15 years. And now, after they've worked in the shadows for all that time, now they are in charge. So we see Mohammad Baqir Dhul Qadr being the Supreme National Security Council, the commanders in the IRGC, for example, Ahmed Wahidi or Aziz Ja'fari or his assistant Hussein Ta'ib or Mohammad Baqir Qalib. These are all people who were the men around the new Supreme Leader when he wasn't the Supreme Leader. So the decision-making is smooth among them, and it's supposed that the Supreme National Security Council and the Foreign Ministry are the ones conveying the answers. So other than that, there are no signs that there is a fractured leadership here in Tehran.
Ali Hashem, live for us there in Tehran. Thanks, Ali. We're going to go back to Mike Hanna at the White House. Mike, just before we do, I just want to point out our viewers to the top right-hand corner of the screen there. That is the current price of Brent crude at the moment. It's sitting over $100 a barrel. It's been moving between 10 and it was up to about 19 at one point. You can see the figure ticking up and down there. This is an indication, of course, the kind of level of uncertainty that the world has with regard to, even though we have a ceasefire extension, there is speculation that talks may be carrying on, and nevertheless there is this uncertainty which is being reflected, at least in part, by the energy prices. Now, in terms of domestic politics, how long do you think Donald Trump can continue all of this? What are analysts telling you from the States?
Well, the oil price is certainly felt by Americans at the gas stations, but it goes far further than that. Diesel plays an important part in the transportation of everyday goods, and the price of those goods are rising incrementally as this war continues. It's a deeply unpopular war within the United States, and the polls indicate that President Trump's own personal standing is the lowest it has ever been, and probably the lowest of any president. One poll puts him at 30% favorable rate. So it is having a dramatic political impact on the United States and on the Trump administration. But further than that, there are, of course, midterm elections in November. President Trump has been looking forward to that. He has been on his campaign trail already, even during this conflict. And this could have a massive and dramatic effect at those November voting to the detriment of President Trump and his Republican Party. So he wants out of here. Very clearly, he has extended the ceasefire because he does not want to go back to war again, because that would lead to a renewing of the war and an extension of it. So he is looking for an off-ramp. All indicators, all analysts believe that this is the case, and he wants one. But how is he going to get it? Well, that is the question, because none of those around him, he spent the day sitting with his National Security Council yesterday, none of those around him appear to be certain as to what course he should take. They are leaving it up to him. They did not know going into that meeting yesterday what President Trump was going to do at the end of it, whether he was going to go to war again or declare an extension of the ceasefire. So it's a very, very shadowy, shady, difficult situation, and the popular effect is deeply damaging to the Trump administration.
It's Mike Hanna at the White House. Mike, thanks very much indeed.